minutes. I reviewed them. I think I saw notes that you looked at them, Herb.
I probably did. Can't
Yeah,
remember for sure.
You did. So are you okay with them?
I'm okay if you're okay.
I am okay also. So Colleen, that's good.
Okay.
Next one is Colleen's timesheet. That's our normal 70 hours. Are you okay with that, Herb?
Look good to me.
Okay, that's approved. The
Okay.
next one is our bills payable, and it is Mike McCain, who is the assistant plumbing inspector, for 175 for inspections and 2480 for mileage. And he submitted what they are, where they are. I'm okay with that. Are you, Herb?
I am, but I was wondering why we hired someone from Belchertown.
Oh,
Well, I don't know. Actually, I don't understand. We'd have to talk with our plumbing inspector and see what there is behind. I think he's been with us for several years.
Well, it seems like we ought to be paying someone from Granby.
We ought to, Colleen, could you follow up
sure,
and just see,
sure.
give them the choice that if we can?
Yep.
And the answer may be simple. It may say they couldn't find anybody, but at least we'll know that answer.
Sure. I can
Mhm.
talk to Fred and see what he knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next is the payables to the town. It's $745. That's $645 for board of health permits and $100 for licenses. Are you okay with that, Herb?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, that's approved. And now we've got, we'll see if I can bang out a few of these. An installer's permit for G&G Construction, and he worked for us before. 2021 food establishment and milk license for East Meadow School and Granby High School. Then a food establishment permit for renewal for Cumberland Farms. And
Oh.
I can't do the well permit or the certificate of compliance, but do you have issues with any of those, Herb?
No, I don't.
Colleen, I don't either, so that's good.
Okay, so the installer's permit and then the food establishments.
Yeah, so we've got for the school and
Yeah.
Cumberland Farms.
Yep.
The next one, we'll do the septics. Bob Sheehan isn't coming tonight. He's got a conflict, and he asked me what I thought, but I'll go over what I have. Herb, I did send this out.
I read it.
And so the first one is 6 Diane Street. It's a replacement of a D-box and a septic tank. And the fee is paid. The review is complete. I didn't have any issues. It happens that that's a deep sands with no water in a city, no water table and no water tables, no wetlands. It's got city water. My suggestion was to approve the application with no restrictions.
Sounds good.
Okay, Colleen, that's approved.
Okay.
The next one is Lot 5B Chicopee Street. That's a new construction, 3 bedrooms. Fees paid, $200. The review's complete. I didn't have any issues. That's another lot that's deep sands and gravel with no water table, no wetlands. The design is 2 2-foot deep trenches, a 2-compartment tank, no fill needed, no issues with flotation. The tank is pushed off to the side, and they are straight lines. The exit of the tank's got a little turn in it, but he moved everything out to avoid that pavement and the problem with the freezing that occurs underneath it in the weight. My suggestion was to approve that with no restrictions.
I don't think there should be any restrictions either.
Okay, so that's good too, Colleen.
Okay, okay.
The third one is Alan Weiss. Herb, to refresh your memory, in May, Alan was in, and the four of us spent a long time on this one. This is right on Forge Pond. It's
Yep.
a postage lot, postage stamp size lot. It's a repair, a complete system replacement. As I said, the review was complete. I did a normal review on top of that. The issues there are the lot size is very small, so a new well is required. Plus, the well can't be far enough from the tank or the leach field. It is about 7 feet before you hit water on the groundwater. It's sands and gravel, so no flotation issues. However, because of the size of the lot, there wasn't room to install the system, period, the leach field.
Right.
Design ended up that there's a new well, and the land had to be purchased. There is a bed in this case because there cannot be trenches installed here. They cannot fit. It's a 2-compartment tank and fill is required. My suggestion was to approve the well separation variance. That the current separation is 42 feet. He moved it out to 74 feet, and that's as much as he can get. Then to approve the application, but only after we're submitted. Supposedly there is the proof of land purchase floating around, but to approve the application only after that land purchase agreement, or no, the land purchase, proof of purchase is submitted to us. And also after the installation of the new well and abandonment of the current well, and then subject to the fill restriction, the plumbing permit, which is required because the plumbing restrictions are on the first 10 feet of pipe leaving the house, and that has to be replaced. So that requires a plumbing permit. Conservation Commission approval, and my suggestion is that we do water tests because it's close to the well and the septic system, that 2 tests at 6 months and 12 months after occupancy. What are your thoughts, sir?
I think it's a difficult situation. That's what you've been elucidating. It's a difficult problem. It's an engineering problem.
Pardon me for asking, I just got in. Is this Forge Pond?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, you crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's up there. Yep.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of things. If the land is purchased, obviously they can't install it if the land's not purchased, and if we don't hold them to replacing the well now, our experience is it doesn't get replaced, and that's really close then. So
Right. The purchase and sale was supposed to be in place when Alan Weiss did the design phase. That was my impression. That was a long time ago, though.
yeah, but in reality, it didn't happen.
Oh, okay.
So all I'm saying is that just show us proof and we're all set.
Okay, because the purchase and sale was commensurate with the system design.
Right.
It had to be.
Right, so that's why I'm saying that we don't actually do the approval until after the land is purchased and we have proof of it, and after the well is installed.
Sure.
And the current well is abandoned. We kicked it around a lot. We couldn't come up with a better way of doing this one.
Understand.
So
Wasn't there a discussion about getting a piece from a neighbor to be able to do this? Or am
yeah,
I
that's what
thinking of-
this. Yeah, it is, Herb. That's what this is a land purchase from the
Yeah.
neighbor.
Right, that's what sticks in my mind.
Yeah.
So what is the sequence of events that has to happen? 1, 2, 3, 4.
One is we approve the well separation variance from the 42 feet that's there now to the 74 feet. So-
That seems like a total no-brainer.
We have to do it. That's what, but we still have to do that variance.
Okay,
The next one would be to put the conditions that we will not approve the application because that allows construction to occur. We don't approve the application until after submission of the proof of land purchase and after the installation of the new well and an abandonment of the current well. So that's number 2. The third is we approve the application with a fill restriction, with a plumbing permit requirement, with a Conservation Commission approval, and with a water test requirement at 6 months and 12 months after occupancy. That's the third step.
well, how do we have the third step if we don't have the second step? We don't have any proof of purchase.
Oh, that's why you don't approve the application until those two are done, because we lose all leverage once and they're required on the design, but we then have it in our record that we have voted to approve it, but only after those 2 steps are accomplished.
Well, what, okay, why don't we just wait until that actually happens and it's actually purchased before we approve it, with the caveat that it has to be purchased?
The only thing that if you get in the minutes that we will approve it when those are done, if they have to go to banks or anything, it's of record that we can't change our mind later on. And when it happens, it becomes a thing that we just authorize Colleen to do it, subject to the conditions of this meeting.
So it all falls on Colleen to make sure that it's been purchased and all these other conditions are met?
No, I guess you're right. So what we could say for the record is we've approved the design, but we won't actually approve the application until after the other conditions are met.
Correct. You see, that sounds much better to me.
Okay.
And that's more logical.
Can you support that, Lee?
Yeah, I understand where Her's coming from on this, as far as the chain of command goes, but yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's going to work out in the end.
Okay.
One way, or the other. So sure.
Do you also want to wait and approve the whole package as a lot and do the approval of the well separation distance at the same time? We'll just include that as part of the design approval right now.
I'm easy on this stuff. I was just trying to understand the logic of what was being proposed. I'm easy on this. You all know far more about this stuff than I do.
I think either way, Herb, it makes it so that we just have to have it kick up in front of us one more time. We can just, Colleen, when it happens again and they tell us it's completed, Colleen can just make a copy of these minutes and say, we said we would approve the well variance and we would approve the application when the two things are done, and it becomes a non-discussion item. It's just something that's procedural, and we keep control of it.
That sounds fine. Something is happening on this call. It keeps getting interrupted with a phone being shown on here and a lot of noise. What is going on?
I don't know. I'm not hearing it, but, and what are you seeing another person coming in and out, Herb?
No, I don't see a person. I see a picture of a phone and then a lot of noise.
Lee, is there a lot of noise? Yours is the only one with a phone, I think, Lee.
I am on my phone. I don't hear any background. I mean, I'm at the store, but everything's closed.
Okay, let's see if it goes away.
Okay.
So that gets us to the point that we can go back to our list, which is, so we'll wait for Alan to show up and go through what we just said. The well permit for Lot F Taylor Street. Has that moved forward, Lee?
Yeah, I saw David Costello. I was on site, so we have plenty of separation distance on that well. Don't know if they're going to get to it this week, but it's good to go.
Okay, so we can approve that then.
Okay.
The next one is certificate of compliance for 6 Diane Street. That was this says D-box replacement, but the permit we just approved said septic tank and D-box replacement.
Okay.
Correct. Both components are in.
So we can approve that.
Yes, please.
Then it ought to say Diane Street, not, or is it D-I-A-N without an E?
No, it's got an E.
It's on everything. I don't know.
Maybe it is only in.
Yeah, it is. I think I checked it. That's why. So it looks really odd. So I think I did check it, but I think it's just D-I-A-N for some reason.
Okay, then mine is wrong.
That is the case. It is D-I-A-N.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
and the guy that drives by that sign every day just spoke, so more than likely he's right. Okay, so those are done. I've got a Title V inspection report for 176 Bachelor Street, received as a pass. Lee, is that okay? Can we just take that in and receive it?
That should be fine.
Yeah, that was, for some reason that came in without the sketch, but I see Colleen tracked them down and got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can approve that. It is 6:51 and we can kick around before Alan gets here. Colleen sent the thing out. I don't know if Herb and Lee, if you saw it, on Greg Briggs is asking us to add in a trenching permit requirement on septic systems. And Lee and Herb, have you had a chance to read that regulation?
I personally have not. I have not.
And I have not. I looked at it and decided that I would not read it.
Essentially, it's saying that since 2009, and I remember when it happened, is that you need a permit for digging a trench associated with construction. And the trench is defined as being 3 feet deep for construction and less than 15 feet between walls. Now, most septic systems don't fit under that on the SAS, but almost every single one of them, if they put a new tank in, end up with that as digging a hole. And the question that I have about it, and maybe you guys can think about it, is a trench is, to me, a trench is different than a hole. And if you're just digging a hole to drop a tank into it, it doesn't seem like that's a trench requirement. But I see Alan is on board right now. Alan, is everybody requiring a trench permit for the installation of a septic system?
No. So I've heard building inspectors in the area adamantly say that a trench permit is required for every digging beyond 2 or 3 feet. And I've heard building inspectors say the exact opposite.
Okay.
That no, it's not needed over a tended hole. And I've read the regulations, and they're ambiguous as many of the other regulations. And the reality is, depending on how you want to interpret the language, you can go either way with it. Most towns I work in do not require trench permits. I have towns that require trench permits for perk tests. And,
Yeah, that came up.
and in my personal opinion, if the hole is attended, as the regulation reads, then it does not require a trench permit. Belchertown requires a trench permit for a perk test, just so you know.
Huh.
Northampton does. Hadley does not. I don't believe Granby does till this time of discussion.
It does not, and I can tell
South
you where.
Deerfield does not. I mean, I can go on. It's
Okay.
50-50 out there.
Okay,
Why
so
did
you
they-
didn't give me a clear answer one way or the other. My
Yeah.
feeling with the whole, just for all of us to hear, mine with the whole is that when you see the regulation says for construction. And if you are digging a hole for a perk test, it is clearly not dug for construction.
And that's the interpretation in the Wetlands Protection Act as well. If it's done for testing and interpretation, you are not required to file an RDA or NOI for a perk test or any other kind of hole for testing.
Okay.
And what
Okay.
do they charge you for one of these trench permits in
Well,
Belchertown?
that's a really good question. In Belchertown, it's only $15, and it's very easy. And all you need is a dig safe number, and the contractor needs an insurance number.
Yeah.
However, the other end of the spectrum would be Northampton. Northampton requires 14 days, and it requires a map showing exactly where you're going to dig. And to be honest with you, most of us who do perk tests, we don't know where exactly going to dig beforehand.
Right.
Their regulation, in my opinion, is over the top on the other direction. I understand where it comes from, because if you're digging a trench in the middle of the city, they want to know what the hell you're doing. However, it doesn't really apply right to a rural area doing perks, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So maybe I can give Greg a call, since he's driving this thing. Let's at least talk to him and see what he's looking for. And his letter indicated that it sounded like his functional leadership from the state through the building inspectors was deciding to put pressure in.
How are you doing?
So I'll give him a call tomorrow.
My advice is to ask him about the concept of being a attended excavation.
Okay,
I don't like walking away from deep holes just like anyone else, but my feeling is that if it's attended, that's a different scenario.
okay. Alan, we've discussed Forge Pond. What we've decided is that we were going to hold, we're going to approve the design. So that's accepted. We are going to we're going to approve the well variance, the separation distance variance. So we are going to do that. But we are going to withhold approval of the application until after we get submission of proof of land purchase, which we still don't have, and after the new well has been installed and the old one abandoned. And when we approve the application, it will be subject to our fill restriction, a plumbing permit requirement for the building sewer line, the Conservation Commission approval, and we're going to require, because of the well separation, we're going to require water tests at 6 months and 12 months after occupancy.
Okay. Sounds appropriate. I will say, I believe I saw an email from the owner with some photos of the deed.
I don't have those.
Yeah, I emailed you everything she sent, so I don't know if it's in there, but I did email the board from the owner some documents, but
Yeah, I believe they're photos of the deed transfer is what
Okay, so that's one part of it's approved. So we
Yeah.
still need the well to be in and the other one abandoned. And then, so it's on record, Alan, that this design's all approved and set. And that we're gonna grant the variance for the well separation. So this thing is just ready to fly as soon as the owner.
Okay. I can't tell right now. I'm on my phone this time, not my computer, because I'm actually backing up a hard drive, so I couldn't interrupt it. But the owner may actually be on this call. I don't know if you see.
I don't see it. I
Okay.
don't. So that's where we are, Alan. So we're
Okay.
all set.
Thank you. Have a good night,
Okay,
folks.
have a good night.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
So as we get into, it looks like unless we have other issues buried in mail, email, and phone calls, we're in the COVID section right now. I did send out one of them. I'll just do schools first. I did send out, I talked to Davey Engineering, and I sent out to everybody a summary of what he did say to me. And I don't know if we all saw it, but at least I saw it, that the schools were submitting to Davey the information on the ventilation system, and Davey was going to get back. He told me, and it looks like he told the schools, that he'd work on it right away and come back and give us an occupancy level, allowable occupancy level. So at least we're right apples to apples with McDuffie. The other part of it is, since he did say that he suggested that we review what we allowed McDuffie to do with their gym, I did copy Steve Griffin in on the same note. Steve got back. I don't know what, I think I sent you guys copies of what happened, but I just told Steve, he should not be reacting to my summary of what was said, that the board had not taken any action on this whatsoever. So that's where we are on the schools. The schools did open with the special needs kids. As far as I know, that's still going. Certainly Herb sent out a thing from CDC suggesting schools open. Again, with some restrictions on gyms, but the other, I think I didn't have other things on schools. One thing that I've I send out at least a couple times a week. I call it the color report, but clearly we are dropping really, really strongly in terms of both our gross numbers and the adjusted numbers for multiple households. But what has happened for sure is that the percentage of positives that are in multiple households is now equal to the amount in single households. So it's a big deal. It looks like when I just looked at our colors on the 14-day rolling average, it looks like we have a couple days at least that the gross numbers have turned yellow and the adjusted numbers have turned green. So, and as I guess I pointed out today, what the media is saying is they expect a week after the Super Bowl game that this thing's gonna go crazy again.
Oh.
So the next item, I think is vaccinations. Herb, you're probably the guy that's most up. We've got a request for a meeting with the select board at 5:30 this next Monday. The one from yesterday was canceled. And I know Chris Martin had indicated in an email that I think we all got that he said maybe with FEMA paying for costs, we should think about establishing our own of at least, whether it's a center or at least a vaccination clinic, I'll call it. I did have Colleen go to the state to see what would happen if we wanted to do like a couple 500 dose clinics. And Colleen got back to all of us and said the state says to do that, you have to go back and complete the form that we all said we didn't think we could do. So given that as background, Herb, you want to take us through what you have?
Well, I'm not sure I've got anything that's earth-shattering. I've sent out a number of emails to everyone with my thoughts about vaccination. And I'd like to continue working with Chloe at the Center on Aging and with GCAM to try and inform the residents of our town about vaccination sites and procedures to get vaccinated. Right now, over 75-year-olds can get vaccinated, but there's a lot of problems. A lot of folks don't know how to use computers. They're not savvy about working through these various sites. they don't have transportation. And I addressed most of those things in another email, making suggestions about the kinds of folks we might get to help us, whether it's Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and volunteers and high school students and Uber and Lyft and everything else from our van to buses and so forth to transport people. Still doesn't get to the issue of shut-ins and how we're going to get them vaccinated. We don't have dedicated public health nurses like Northampton and Amherst who can go out and administer doses. So we may have to contract with Kevin Brooks's wife to get re-involved in public health issues, or with Sharon Hart from South Hadley. Otherwise, I'm not sure how our shut-ins are going to get taken care of. Chloe and I have been working on a list of vaccination sites, and she sent out a newsletter to COA recipients. Today, it lists the most obvious vaccination sites like the Eastfield Mall and South Hadley Big Y, which is not online yet, I don't believe, nor the Ludlow Big Y. But Northampton Senior Center is, and Amherst at the UMass Campus Center and at their regional high school are both up and running. And I believe the Whitney Avenue Vaccine Center of Bay State may well be online now. We got URLs for all of them, phone numbers for some of them, and this is going out in the newsletter, and I want to put it out on our Comcast channels, and I'll talk with GCAM probably tomorrow. The snowstorm put us back a couple of days. So we'll get it up on GCAM, try to get information out to folks in town. So we're at the point where those over 75 ought to get themselves a site to get a vaccine. I'm sure you all have been reading that there's any number of folks who are reluctant to get vaccinated at the present time. And these are medical personnel. I don't know about people in the community, but there may be as high a percentage as 30% of medical personnel who are reluctant to get vaccines at the present time. I have to be straightforward. I don't understand that at all. I don't understand what the argument is. I don't understand what the reluctance is. Perhaps most of us don't personally know someone who's died of COVID. You have to get to 1 in a lot of people before, just by chance, you're going to know someone. But we're approaching 450,000 in this country and 2 million worldwide. And an argument that I may get a sore arm, or that one person in a million might have some breathing difficulty, easily treated, because people have to be observed for 15 to 30 minutes after they get their vaccination. But if it's like other vaccinations, that's 1 in a million to 1 in several million. Not very many folks. So I don't understand the reluctance, and I'm going to keep pushing to get information out to our community, to our seniors in particular. And we're going to have to be working on the transportation issue, which may well be our most difficult conundrum to solve. How to get people to and from a vaccination. And Dick, you and your wife ran into that, I guess, at the Eastfield Mall the other day, or yesterday, or
Yesterday.
sometime. Yeah, yesterday. It takes longer than you think. And if we're utilizing transportation to take someone, it's going to be between 1 and 3 hours, maybe closer to an hour and a half to 2, but it could be up to 3 hours per person. That's a lot of commitment. But I don't know what else we can do right now. I don't think we should be considering, and we've had this discussion, I don't think we should be considering a vaccination site dedicated in the town of Granby. It just doesn't make any sense. We don't have the numbers, we don't have the personnel, we don't have any of the infrastructure to make that work.
We're not, more than that, I think, Herb, we don't have a source to get the vaccine. If you
Well-
look at one of the things that is missing here is vaccine, that the current numbers, what you talked about, Northampton and Amherst, they have only a commitment for 500 doses, 1,000 doses between them every week. So when you look at the 1,000 people that are plus 65 and plus 75, 500 each, that's a huge chunk of their vaccine.
It's going to take a long time to get this ramped up to the point where there's enough vaccine for everyone. So it's just another reason, Dick, to not get sidetracked in trying to set something up ourselves. There are other people who have done that. They have the infrastructure. They have a whole lot more infrastructure than we do here in Granby. And we should utilize those facilities, not set something up de novo in Granby.
So Herb, when I looked at the things that you wrote down and distributed, I saw 4 big pieces, that 2 of which I think we're in a spot that we can make a decision tonight on what the board supported. One is that what you just said is that setting up the vaccination site and getting the source of vaccine was an extremely difficult thing. And as we said several weeks ago, that you're saying we should continue on that road. Do not do it. The second one,
Yes.
second one you said is kind of linked into that. And that's that that you were focusing on the plus 75s for right now, and that we should be using the existing systems that are in place. The third, and I think those 2, if I'm on board with that, if Lee agrees that that's what the board should do, then we can be saying we as the 3 of us agreed to that. The third one was assistance and getting appointments, which is you were looking at volunteers. At this point, my suggestion is hang on for another week or 2 weeks, because there's a big move. It's the whole state is experiencing this crisis with the elderly, and they're in the process of setting up phone reservations instead of computers. And the fourth one you talked about was transportation, and maybe where the 2 front ones we can do something about now and say we're taking a stand. The other 2, I think I guess, and you also touched on a separate one, was the 50 people who are shut-ins that you said we just haven't closed on that one yet. And that one, my guess, you talked about, community nurses, and I am gonna guess that if we got two different sessions, if we got our hands on 25 doses of vaccine, maybe Jean is on with us today, that maybe we'd be headed to our fire folks and ask if they thought they could be handling that, but we can get back to that. And the other that I learned oh, look, Gene, why don't you shut the thing back off? That just hide behind your black screen. That doesn't make me happy to see that palm tree blowing in back of your head.
Dick, there really are problems with going out to shut-ins. There's problems identifying public health people. There's problems with our EMT force being sequestered at someone's house for a period of time when they may be needed somewhere else, and yet there has to be an observation time after the dose is administered. So there are technical issues here that have not been solved to be able to actually do this.
Okay, and then my
But I would
last
say,
one. Go ahead.
I would say, if there are phone numbers and URLs, people have to start using them. You gotta push the system. You gotta keep pushing and get lucky. And that's exactly how most people respond when you ask how they got their appointment. They got lucky. There was nothing available, and then there was suddenly something available on the umpteenth call or the umpteenth visit to the website. So you have to keep at it. So I don't think we should be suggesting to people in town that they wait a few weeks until phone systems have matured. We don't know that they'll ever work right. So I think people have to push hard right now to try and get an appointment.
The other thing that people should know is that the current state sites open up their reservations for the week on Thursday mornings.
Mhm.
And so if you want to work hard, that's the day to be really focusing on getting in there.
And is that Thursday morning at 12:01, or is that 8 or 9 a.m.? We need to really know that. I've spoken with Chloe. They're getting a tremendous number of phone calls from people in town who are having trouble navigating any of this. My suggestion to Chloe was that she and perhaps Colleen, I'm not volunteering you, Colleen, but I guess I am.
Okay.
Chloe and Colleen have to be entry points for people in town to express their frustration and perhaps be directed to a better mechanism for trying to navigate this system.
Mhm.
The other thing that makes it very unpleasant, along with taking my wife an hour and a half to get through Eastfield yesterday, and some of it may in fact be that it was around noontime, and I know there were only 3 people giving vaccinations at that point. But when we were done, when she was done, she was handed a card and said, you're going to have on the 22nd of February is the day you would like to be getting your next vaccination. And we are not making appointments. It's up to you to get right back into that mess again and try it over again. And it's my understanding that not all sites are doing that. That some sites are giving your next appointment. It certainly seems to me that where Eastfield is saying, we recommend you coming back here, that they know everybody that went through that site yesterday, next 3 Mondays from yesterday, need to be there again. And if that's the case, why don't they make it easy for those people to be there? But they're not.
Yeah.
So,
And of course, that makes no sense at all to just complicate the system, make people's lives that much more difficult to have to get back in and fight with everyone else to try and get an appointment.
so with that, can we, Lee, are you still there? Well, I guess we got from the board, I guess I'd like us
Yeah.
to,
I'm
to-
on this.
okay. I would like us, if we agree, to follow Herb's suggestion that we say that we are going to follow the system that we have in place right now that's established and not establish our own inoculation site. Do the three of us agree that that's the course we should be taking?
Yes,
You do believe that, Lee?
I do believe that.
I do too, and with Herb, you also, we know you do. So that's,
Yes.
that part we're fixed on. So at least now we can start moving into the next phase. As my concern is with the open meeting laws, we've got, for sure, stuff is changing every single day right now. Whether we talk about the phone system, whether we talk about setting up assistance, I don't know. I guess we have 3 choices. One is violate the open meeting law, and since when we do that, regardless of how we think that's what's called for, we are personally liable for that. And especially if we know we're violating it, which we do. The next one is to just let one of us make the decision, which I don't have a problem with that, because we're kind of right now saying what we're trying to have happen. The other is maybe the safest way to do it is to let Colleen be the focal point. I know that Herb is sending notes to Colleen, and we're getting stuff, we're getting copies. And I think I've responded to Colleen, at least on some of them, that if we go through Colleen, instead of talking to each other, we stay in compliance with the open meeting law. The other option is if we get to something that's big enough that we need to talk, then we just have to deal with the 3-day notification, or the 48 hours, I guess, Colleen, right?
Yeah, yes, 48 hours.
So we've got that. And if it's really bad, then we still have the emergency provision. So my suggestion is that we don't violate the open meeting law, and if it's that important that we have to violate it, then follow the rules and call the emergency meeting and stay in compliance. We'll still get the thing done. If it's really bad, we can call it within 10 minutes. So what are your thoughts? Lee,
Yes.
you want to try to use Colleen as the focal point for right now, and then any of us can call the emergency, and at least we stay in compliance and protect ourselves financially.
Yeah, if that's good with you guys and Colleen, of course, then sure.
Herb, can you live with that?
Well, I think we have to. Do I want to? No.
Oh,
I think this, in many ways, makes no sense when we're talking about people dying of this disease and having terrible complications to be hamstrung by the open meeting law. But I'm not sure we're going to be hamstrung. If we work quickly through Colleen, I think we can be efficient enough that we're not going to jeopardize people's lives. That's the issue. If the open meeting law actually winds up jeopardizing the health and welfare of people in town, then I have a big problem with it, but we can probably work around that.
one other item that I have is I've seen some stuff going around. You mentioned it about slides. I'm thinking that certainly in terms of the medical profession, you're the guy that probably knows most about this. I have no trouble with having you take the lead with the slides. Again, you can throw them by through Colleen. And Lee, do you have a problem with letting her be the one that does the slide stuff?
No, I think that would be in the best hands that we have available.
Right. It would be better if we had Tony Fauci. What I'm going to do is make more slides, talk to GCAM, either do it live on GCAM or do another one of my Granby Journal programs and talk to people in town about how to navigate all of this. So now that we're over this storm, I'll work with Alex and work with Elizabeth. We will get a program up to augment what Chloe is putting out from the senior center.
One thing I will say, and I'm sure everybody's noticed, is seeing the daily updates that are coming from CDC, from Tony Fauci, there is no doubt we're getting some science that's coming up in front of us, and we're getting some fact-based information. So I feel really, really better about seeing that. So if that's the case, that is the end of what I've got on my agenda. Do other people have anything?
Nothing I can think of at the moment.
Gene, you're muted.
All right, can I just ask something real quick? People know to get a hold of Chloe or Colleen if they're having issues that need to be identified. People know if they're having transportation issues or computer issues, correct? Have we put that out that call Colleen, call Chloe, call the fire department, call whoever you need to call, but we need to have points that people can call and identify exactly what the problems are. And maybe we can solve some of those one-on-one with whoever it may be. If it's a transportation issue, okay, let's say we got 5 people that have no transportation to get to Big Y in South Hadley to get their vaccine, or the Eastfield Mall. If we know there's 5 people, well, let's work on those 5 people. Because I don't know how many people we're dealing with here. I know the numbers that Chloe put out for the age groups, but I don't know who's having problems and who isn't. Same thing with the computer stuff. I don't know who's having problems with it.
I don't know the numbers either, Gene. I just know from talking with Chloe that they are inundated with phone calls from people who are not able to adequately navigate all of this. The information coming out from Chloe today, the Granby Council on Aging, their newsletter states if you're having trouble, you either call Chloe and it has Chloe's phone number, or Colleen and the Board of Health phone number. It's right there, along with the URLs and sites that people are going to have the best chance to find a vaccine.
Are they able to walk people through their issues when they're calling generally? Herb, do you know that?
I do not know that. I have not sat down with Chloe, because Colleen hasn't, I think, been that involved with these phone calls. I have not sat with Chloe to see what the level of problem is with the phone calls that are coming in. But I will try and examine that with her.
I'll stop down tomorrow and talk to her and see where that is too. I'd be interested to see where that is, because walking people through computer issues is one thing. If we got a dozen people in town that need a ride, let's arrange a ride for them and get them to where they need to be. And I know it's a bit of a time thing, but let's identify our problems and deal with our problems, and hopefully the rest are getting through and getting a vaccination somewhere.
Well, I couldn't agree more. The problem is, if we had 10 or a dozen, they might be at hours apart, times, and totally disparate sites. It's not that we can just bundle a dozen people into the Amherst High School.
Oh, no, I completely agree with you. But if we had whatever it is, at least we can look at where we're at and what we're trying to accomplish here.
Absolutely.
I don't know where it is. I don't know if people are actually missing appointments or can't get rides, or don't have relatives who can give them rides, or can't we use a council on aging van to take 4 people at a time, or bundle up some of these people and say, hey, we got a way to do this, or maybe get a school bus for an afternoon. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking. I don't know.
And just all of those things, we have put that out, Gene, along with trying to enlist our Boy Scouts. We've got a Boy Scout troop in town. You gotta do your community work to get that merit badge. This would be a fantastic community project, working with seniors in town. So, and we've got Uber vans, and we've got cars and Lyft cars, and we've got buses, and we've got the van, and we've got volunteers. It's just that we don't have right now a single coordinated site. Maybe the closest we have to that is Chloe at the Council on Aging. But perhaps, Gene, that might be an interesting thing. If we could figure out a time, maybe we could meet down there and talk to Chloe and see what kind of system can be put together. I'm not really a systems person, but what kind of system can be put together to make this work as efficiently as possible?
All right. I mean, whatever you want to do, Herb. I'm on 6 to 6 tomorrow. I'm around. Whatever you want to do, I can do. I'm on all next week. Go sit down with her and see what we can do. Just talk one-on-one and see where we are.
Does anyone know